Joining me now is the retired Lieutenant General Russel Honoré. In 2005, Russel Honoré was brought in by the Bush administration to manage the federal response to Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. He led a team of roughly 30,000 National Guards members, 20,000 more federal troops, 50,000 people, with a dozen Navy ships and more than 200 helicopters. Lieutenant General, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us. I would like, before we start talking, to play some sound for you. This is the residents I was just talking about, the shrimpers. You're from New Orleans. You know shrimpers. This is a small shrimping community here in Fort Myers Beach. Their situation right now is very bleak. These are some of the people who need the most help. Listen with me to what they told me. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How long are you going to stay out here?
Oh,
we don't have anywhere to go. This is pretty much our family, other than our families at home, but this is how we support them. I've got a granddaughter on the way and a grandson on the way, and I just, my husband, his mom, she's got health issues. She lost her place. So let's just, we all pull together in times like this. So, thank God, just we're all alive.
Thank God you're all alive, but this is hard. This is
it's
we're going to make sure people know the story.
Thank you.
We're going to make sure people know the story, because this is something else. General, I actually stopped that interview at one point because I said, I need to get back and we need to edit the story so that people out there, whether they're local officials or America at large, understands these are just one example of people on the margins. And it's a story you tell me every hurricane, right? That's what we have to worry about. We have to find these people, we have to fix it for them, and then we have to fix our infrastructure so that people like this don't keep on falling off the edge.
Absolutely, Ali. What we see here is the devastating impact of a Cat 4 that took down the grid, destroyed businesses, destroyed homes, destroyed the entire infrastructure for be able to move around, to be able to do business, to be able to have a place to live. And this is going to be a challenge that the federal government and the state, we've never faced this many homes and small businesses affected by a hurricane in modern times. We've had strong hurricanes before back in history, but we didn't have this many people inside the hurricane zone where it came ashore as a Cat 4. So this is going to be a rewrite of history. This will be life-changing for the elderly and the poor. History will show many of them will never get back into their homes, and the small businesses will never start again. We've got to figure out how we rewrite this script between state and federal government so we can get these people back in business and get them back in homes. But the challenge is going to be, how do you find homes for hundreds of thousands of people in the interim, and where do they live, Ali?
Yeah, and that's right. And one of the things you dealt with in 2005 in Katrina is that there were so many people without homes. There were so many people whose homes were flooded in a serious manner, which meant they weren't going to get in a few days. You know, here the water is largely receded, but there's damage to homes. There's mold. There's things like that. You said on Thursday that it actually costs a lot of money just to get a trailer in place and the power necessary and the sanitation necessary for people who've been displaced. That moves from being sort of an uncomfortable position into a crisis, and possibly a healthcare crisis. One of the things that the folks at this shrimping area were telling me is, like, they don't have toilets. They literally need something as basically as porta potties.
Those things will come. They're mobilizing. They're on the way. It's that the first 3 to 5 days to get the mobilization and get the basic life-saving needs in. There will probably have to be an encourage for people to evacuate. It will be hard to maintain that number of people on site in the community with debris removal, no drinking water, no electricity, no sewage. They're going to have to do a post-storm evacuation, encourage and get people to a safe place where they can live. It will take days and weeks to put what we call camps up in the area. And then where do you put them? In that littoral area along the coast. The challenge of responding to a storm we will see is logistics. When we ran Task Force Katrina, we worked on enablers. and we use every element of government to get water up, to get sewage running, to get electricity on, and there's a great team to do that. But that's going to have to be managed at the city and the county, and they will need the resources to do that just to keep people alive who want to stay. But the government is going to have to encourage people. They may have to move, and some of them will never get back in their homes again. And then they're going to have to figure out a plan how to get people to come in and get closure and leave. This is going to be the challenge of government. There's an old saying in this business, the front end of messaging and warning people and ensuring them that help is on the way. That's easy, that's political, it's big promise. But the challenges of starting to recover is the challenge of logistics and communications. They got to get comms in so they know where people are and how they can apply for FEMA assistance and get the teams in there. And as of yesterday, there was many places that government officials hadn't been yet, as you were reported on TV.
Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting thing, and I'm going to bear on your history in Louisiana because it's a big fishing community. These people, these shrimpers, are sort of at the on the economic low end of the fishing community. They were telling me their gas prices are up for their boats, for their cars. The prices of shrimp are down. Their boats were not insured because they're really, really old boats. These are not folks who seem to have a lot of options outside of this in life. And what they were telling me is that not only their lives and their clothes and their money's gone, but their livelihoods are gone. That's not an easy thing for us to structurally accommodate it or figure out. We can get them camps and we can get them into a place to live. But how do we think about that when storms destroy livelihoods?
Well, those small businesses are key to the community. There are SBA loans, and luckily the shrimpers also fall under the USDA. Like the USDA do land farmers and give them grants, they're going to have to come out with new ways to handle recovery so we can get these small businesses and restructure these families so they can survive. All that's available. The question is, will the people in Washington find workarounds to help those small businesses to get the loans that turn into grants, Allie? The first challenge is they're going to challenge them on insurance. Most of them are underinsured or insured at all because of the cost of insurance. And the insurance industry is broke when it comes to recovering from hurricanes. We lost 10 companies in Louisiana after Hurricane Ida, Cat 4 hit Louisiana last year. It's a mess. The people in Congress are going to have to sit down. There are 21 or 12 committees that oversee Homeland Security and FEMA response. The book is going to have to be rewritten. The way it is now, this will be a living hell during recovery for these people. We know that, but we got to make some changes, Allie.
Yeah, General, the number of people I've spoken to in the last few days who say the cars weren't insured, their homes weren't insured, their boats weren't insured. We're going to have to figure this out. Times are tight. That's where people cut corners. We're going to have to figure out a way to make insurance affordable and usable for everybody. General, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Lieutenant General Russel Honoré is a former commander of Joint Task Force Katrina and the founder of the Green Army.